Good evening. I'm Greer McGeary, President of Seahorse Victoria, and with me tonight is my guest, Ophelia. Leah, welcome. You provide a dressing service for cross-dressers, as they're sometimes called. What sort of service is it?
I started this 9 years ago, and I have a way of doing things that seems to work. I take someone who turns up at my door looking like probably the average bloke, and within about an hour, hour and a half, I have them looking like as hot a chick as they can. People tell me they might resemble their sister or a family member, could be anybody. But the look on someone's face when they look in the mirror and they see what would be their preferred way of expressing themselves is a huge buzz. It's very powerful. And so I've been doing that, like I said, for about 9 years, but it's a tricky question to answer. What is my service like?
That's true, but I think that gives us sort of a broad overview of what it is. I understand you were living in Sydney at the time. What drew you to starting up this service?
Yeah, I get asked that pretty much by everybody who meets me, like, why are you doing this and who are you? 10 years ago, I was dating. I was in a special relationship with a very beautiful person named Jay, who asked me after about 9 months if I would help him become a woman. And he was real shy about asking me this. And I was intrigued by the question. I thought, well, this is different. It was not about watching Thelma and Louise. We needed breasts. And so I thought, okay, well, I can do this. And I put my thinking cap on and I came up with what was a cheap wig. I quickly learned how incredibly expensive many of the products are that you need for transforming. And I wasn't about to do that for what I didn't know was going to change my life and be part of my life going forward till today. But I used those gel heat packs. I found ones that were breast size and they were the right weight and, you know, they felt squishy. So I thought, well, this will work. And everything else is more or less traditional. And the outfit was pretty much the hot harlot look. I mean, I've never once had anybody ask me for jeans and a t-shirt. You know, well, that's not true. I have had a couple of people go that route, but it's still going to be really nice jeans and a really nice t-shirt. You know, we want to put a lot of effort into how we appear. So yeah, Jay made the hottest Jane. And it was really special, and our relationship had so much enhancement from the experience. There was an intimacy that came from him being vulnerable to me, because after he asked me, he would continually in the weeks leading up to the big event, because it took time to prepare all the stuff that we needed, he'd say, "You're not going to laugh at me. You sure you're not going to laugh at me? You're still going to respect me in the morning?" And so I was puzzled by this shame for what to me was a completely innocuous desire. I mean, we're talking about clothes here.
We are talking about clothes basically, but there is that inner depth of, if somebody else finds out about me, you know, what will people think about me? So obviously it took a lot of courage to sort of ask you to do that in the first place.
That's what I thought. I was actually honored, and I took it as a privilege that I was being allowed into what was this deep, dark secret. And I still don't quite get the shame attached to it. It's kind of like, I think, the people who feel that are taking on board what they imagine other people thinking. And half of that is imagination. Most people don't care. They're busy living their own life. They really don't give a flying what you're wearing.
In a lot of cases, there's a lack of imagination by some people. Because part of your background is that you were a teacher, so...
Yeah, I bring a lot of weird
change.
Skill sets to this experience.
Yeah, so it was sort of a bit of a change of occupation, as it were.
Actually, I see it as an extension. It's a continuation of what I do. I know this might sound really bizarre, but sometimes I look around a Seahorse meeting and think it's my students all growing up from a different era. A little known fact is that gender plasticity, the ability to think yourself in two different gender experiences and presentations, is not easy, and it's complicated and takes a lot of energy and effort. And it's paired with, I hate to tell you this, high IQ.
It's nice to think that I might have a high IQ.
Well, I'm not making this up. I worked for JERIC at UNSW, which is the Centre of Excellence for Gifted Education. This is actually factual.
Well, thanks for the compliment. But you mentioned Seahorse in your response there just a moment ago.
Yep.
What got you involved with Seahorse?
Jaded. The ongoing shame, because I gotta say, I put a lot of time and effort into creating the Jane experience, and it was a lot of fun. And then all of a sudden, we don't want to do it anymore. Oh, I don't want to do that anymore. I just do that occasionally. I'm like, really? And so I looked into Seahorse, and I got vetted, which was quite the experience, because you don't want to have crazy ex-murderers turning up to the meetings. And I got the address, and so this is in Sydney. And so I turn up to the meeting, this is 9 years ago, and I met the nicest people you could ever want to meet. I'm telling you, smart, switched on. See, the smart theories continually keeps getting proven. And the welcome that I got was huge after, I got vetted by each and every person because, I had to explain who I was and why I was there and blah, blah, blah. And I joined, of course, and have been a continuous member. I'm member 951. And I'm also a member of Seahorse Victoria, as you would, because moving to Melbourne. And the weirdness of my going to that first meeting being the same meeting where the two people who had been doing transformations in Sydney, it was a lovely husband and wife team. They'd been doing, I think, for 10, 15 years. Madeline and Kaniki, people have heard of them. I had a wonderful time meeting them because they were selling their stuff to NIDA. They had, the wedding dresses and all the beautiful, fancy clothes and lots of corporate, which is what everybody wants after the high-class hooker look. And so they were selling their stuff up, and I thought, well, Jay could use some of these things because I did my research, and I knew that this, the I don't want to do it anymore thing was part of how it works. There's
quite often
a rejection of it,
it's quite
and
often.
then it comes back and it just doesn't leave you alone. It plays in the back of your mind. And so the heartbreak I have when I hear people throw away like huge amounts of great clothes, like good quality breast forms, never mind my little do-it-yourselfers, and then 6 months later they're back shopping for all these things to replace them.
We called it purging.
I've heard the word.
It's something
It's sacrilegious to throw things away.
I realise
Don't
that.
do
It's probably
At least
why
give them to Vinnie's.
why I've got so many boxes full of clothes now. I don't need to. Having sort of made that connection with Seahorse, I gather you made quite a lot of friends through it.
I have been very, very lucky to have two particularly amazing mentors. One is Jill Austin, who's one of the founding members of Seahorse, and the other is Amanda, who runs the TGR website, and she's a former president of Seahorse.
So what's
as
TGR?
Well. Transgender Radio. And during COVID, she redesigned her website. She's been doing it, I think, for around 20 years. And it's an excellent website, really good source of information. Anybody who wants to learn anything about the transgender experience is well advised to spend time looking at that for just learning things.
Gather that she'd be able to track what people are looking for.
She redesigned the website. I had lunch with her when I was in Sydney a couple of weeks ago, and the analytics on the website were really interesting. So she wanted to know what the top search queries were for the TGR site. The number one was forums, which is just broad, and there's 1,001 topics. But are you ready for the next ones? Number 2, do-it-yourself breast forms. Number 3, make breast forms with balloons. Number 4, how to make fake boobs. Number 5, do-it-yourself gel breast forms. 6, how to make gelatin breast forms. And male breast enlargement forums, followed by the number 8, which is henna dye for nipples. So Amanda was really impressed at the focus on breasts. But I know from doing my transformations that, you got to start with the foundation. So I now have 13 sets of breast forms. I have the Aphrodites and all the different types.
So you really have a very large collection.
Yeah, there's a debate about me being that H word. I like to say that I'm an avid collector of all things.
I have seen some of your collection. It's not in the traditional sense of hoarding. It's very neat and tidy and well organised.
I'm very neat and tidy, yes. But it is kind of overwhelming sometimes. I have 6 wedding dresses and the storage issues with those and getting them down. But for someone who loves wedding dresses, it's worth it.
now that you've sort of done the transformation for an individual and introduced yourself to more individuals, what is the thing that you find about the people that you've been helping? How do you find them, say, prior to using a service to afterwards?
Obviously that involves a generalization, and we don't like generalizations. But it is, there's obviously going to be commonalities, and there's a huge continuum. The change that I've seen is that, I tend to keep in touch with everybody, so I'm still in touch with my first several clients. They're all incredibly powerful to me because they knew that I was a newbie, and they still took me on, as it were. I'd say that I've watched in the 10 years a lot of people grow into being themselves. And it's often been the case, they've told me I'm the first person they've shared this with, which is an honor. And it's also a shock that I'm meeting someone who might be 30, 40, 50 years old. My youngest client was 17. My oldest was well in her late 80s. She was 84 when she...
The first person in my role at Seahorse, I've looked after the contact phone for many years, and there were several people that I've been the first person they've ever told a good ear to listen to, and some advice about how they can go about looking at things. But I find that my role is more to say, well, it's up to you now to make the choice as to whether you come along to Seahorse or not. I'm not there to help you learn how to dress. We're here you can see what we look like, make up your own mind as to what you think suits you, and to how you're going to make it fit into your life.
Oh, Seahorse is invaluable. I have encouraged all of my clients to join. I think, even if they don't personally make use of going to the meetings, giving $50 to a nonprofit to know that it exists for people like yourself to have a port of call. It's the first stepping stone for pretty much everybody. Doesn't matter how far or how advanced they are now, they all started at Seahorse. That was their big first time out in public, and oh my God, there's nobody throwing stones at me and everything's fine, and it turns out to be like, you never look back.
The sky didn't fall in and the ground didn't open up.
I've taken so many clients out for their first time ever. We'll go out to dinner, we'll go shopping, there's all different activities, but it never fails that they're amazed at how normal the experience was. And how they didn't get a lot of attention and they just blended in. It can be kind of disappointing. It's like this, you want attention, but then you don't want attention. It's a tough thing
Trying to look like the Marilyn Monroe or somebody like that, and then no one paying attention to you. It could be very deflating. While we were talking about Seahorse there, of course, this year is 50th anniversary of the founding of Seahorse Australia, which then led to Seahorse New South Wales, Seahorse Victoria, Seahorse Queensland, and other groups using different names. But you mentioned Jill Austin. You're very good friends with a couple of the people, founding members of Seahorse.
Jill and Rosemary are very special to me.
Tell us the experience of first meeting Jill.
Oh, wow, that was something. She told me that she had kept a crystal in her pocket for 3 years, hoping to meet someone like myself who was completely accepting. I'm like, really? I'm the product of a crystal? So she's very spiritual. She is one of the most remarkable people I've ever met. I admire her thoroughly, and I have learned from her. I still learn from her. She's like nobody else I've ever met. She's extraordinary. And every meeting, she makes a point to talk to every single new person. I watch her. She's got such a heart for humanity, as it were.
In 2015 was Seahorse Victoria's 40th anniversary, and
we were there.
We held a ball, and Jill came along to that, and because she came down from Sydney and was at the very first meetings of Seahorse Victoria. So so that was a real privilege to have her and one of the founding members of Seahorse Victoria was also at the anniversary. So we had two of the founding.
I know, and they're treasures. I mean, I suppose the word elder is appropriate. It's just really magnificent to appreciate what they've lived through, because now, here we are, we've all got our phones and everything is just so technologically sophisticated, and we're all so savvy and progressive and woke. But she's lived through a totally different era, totally. And she's helped change it to make it what it is today.
But it's also important too that services like yourself also help. Something that gives an individual the sense of, I can actually make myself look presentable to the world.
Everybody can be presentable. It doesn't matter how tall you are, how broad your shoulders are. It doesn't matter. We all have the right to exist. And you maximize your assets. Everybody's got something that's good, you know, that's a positive, beautiful eye, something. And you work with that. You maximize that, you minimize what you're not so happy about, and you just move on.
One of the things that I found through Seahorse, and I have sort of mentioned it at a couple of conversations over the years, but the very first meeting I went to, I was basically all in black. I called it my Edith Piaf look. But
that's very Melbourne.
it was.
Blend right in.
But as I walked around to the venue, and it had a glass panel door, and I can remember looking through there thinking, there's people in there as badly dressed as I am. And I found that quite comforting in some ways. The thing that I did sort of learn over time, and it didn't take that long a time, was by observing other body shapes, how you can develop your own style and have a style that actually works for you.
Everybody does want to do that, to find their look. And it's incredibly challenging when your wardrobe consists of one or two items that you furtively hide in a suitcase in the attic or the boot of your car. Some of the hiding places people have dreamed up are so good that they struggle to access their clothes because they don't want to mess up how well they're hidden. You can see there's, and then laundry's an issue. How do you wash your clothes?
That's right.
So you end up, you know, like op shops are, thank God for op shops.
Obviously, people listening to the conversation tonight will have noticed a slight accent.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I got asked about that today, yeah.
Besides an aeroplane, what brought you to Australia?
Okay, that was cute. My ex-husband. Although I didn't know that at the time. Prior to that, it was Daryl.
Yes.
I met Daryl when I was traveling in Europe. Doesn't that sound all exotic? And yeah, those were the days.
Yeah.
But yes, I met an Australian when I was in Europe, and I did the letter writing thing for a year, and then I flew here, and I met my ex-husband in Sydney in the Blue Mountains, of all places. Yeah, so that's what led me, as we had this intense romance. It was right out of Hollywood, which was the first problem I should have been made aware of. And then he went to America. I stayed every last day I could. I extended my visa to the 9-month limit and left on the day that I had to go. And he met me in Chicago and proposed. And I said yes. And no, yeah, we did not live happily ever after.
No. Well, unfortunately, those things
But I have
can
a beautiful
happen.
son. My son has made everything worthwhile.
What are you finding the main differences and the reasons for wanting to stay on in Australia?
I love Australia. Really happy. I have citizenship. Not going anywhere. It is the best country to live in. I think it was brilliant for raising my son. I loved the no gun thing. Oh, you don't know how grateful I am for the gun laws. It panics me to think that I could lose a loved one because they went to the wrong post office or McDonald's. Yeah, no, this country, you know, everybody, you know, has lots to complain about because that's just human nature. But we've got it good here. And I'm so grateful for, I didn't like the house arrest thing, but I'm real happy that I'm not wearing a mask. And I've hugged people, like I can admit that. Yeah, it's been really great. It's almost like life's back to normal.
There is plans for Seahorse New South Wales having a big celebration for the 50th anniversary in Katoomba this year. I think it's in August, I think.
Yes, there is the 50th anniversary, and it is a chance to pay homage to Jill, who, you know, you can bet I've got a few things planned special for her. And she's going to have a room at the hotel. She used to always drive home every year, and it worried me no end. This year she's going to stay. And so that's sorted. But it's just going to be so much fun. There's going to be a big dinner dance, so fancy 3-course meal, followed by a DJ this time, so we can still talk maybe, and have music that we like. And so there's a really good playlist. Oh, and the DJ is somebody famous, I won't say, but we got a really good DJ. There's a double-decker bus going to take 77 of us all through Katoomba, and we're going to go to the scenic railway and that sky rail thing that they've got. I haven't done that in years. That's going to be fun. And then if you don't want to do that, you can go to Lura and go shopping. And it's a 3-hour side trip that's happening a Sunday after the ball on Saturday. On Saturday, I'm doing a makeup class that's going to help people get ready.
I was going to say, you'll be quite busy with the services you provide for a lot of people.
Well, I'm doing something I haven't ever done before I do the makeup class. So there's like 20 places for a do-it-yourself makeup class. I'm going to bring everything that people need and I'll help them. I can't do one-on-one. It's just not logistically possible. For 45 minutes prior to the makeup class, I'm going to have the other wives, partners, supportive family members, whoever wants to have a cuppa, as they say. The hotel is going to provide, I never say this word right, scones and tea?
Scones.
Scones, yeah.
Scones.
Right. Scones, yeah. Anyway, we all know what I'm talking about, so that's okay. And that way, for 45 minutes, it gives the wives and all the partners and whatnot a chance to talk about their experience. Oh, there's another fun thing happening on Saturday. There's a little shop, and I won't mention its name, but it's got a magical name, and they're having private bra fittings for everybody, just for the seahorses that are attending this. So the shop will be closed to the public, and people can come in and they can buy, as they please, things that suit the breast forms that they have or whatever needs they have. I've been to the shop before, so that's a little bit of a treat, and people may or may not want to do that. But the whole weekend has been thought through, and it's just going to be huge fun, and I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it enormously.
Coming out here for a relationship, you then got involved with dressing services for one of your beaux, I suppose would be the case. And it's just developed from there into an exciting, almost career.
Yeah, it's been an odd journey when you think about it, because I immigrated here a long time ago and then took out the citizenship, so you couldn't get rid of me. And I lived a very heteronormative, I was a cisgender, heteronormative, mainstream person, flying under the radar here with my diversity sympathies. And I might be diverse too. Sometimes I feel left out because I don't have any tattoos and I only have my ears pierced. But it doesn't mean I'm not open-minded. So it was fun to realize when I had Jay be vulnerable with me, and I loved the intimacy and the closeness that we still will always share. I mean, it's a very special experience to be the one person that was there for someone to own and admit what has been, privately incredibly important to them. It's fundamental to their identity. Whether Jay is at the purge stage or not, I don't know right now. I mean, because it ebbs and flows. That's what it was explained to me through my mentorship with various people in the Seahorse community.
One of the things that I've really enjoyed about having met you and heard about all the things that you've done over the years is that bubbliness and
I can't stop it.
And acceptance that you obviously provide for the clients that you have, the members of Seahorse that you've got to know over a long period of time. And I think that's what I enjoy about meeting people. There's no worrying about where you come from or what your background is or what you're into. It's a lovely acceptance that you bring to the life of a lot of people. So thank you very much.
You're more than welcome. I feel I've gotten more out of the experience than I've given. I try very hard to do my best to help everybody, but it is always interesting and fun to meet people. And when you asked earlier about the difference between teaching and doing transformations, I'm still explaining things. I'm continually, giving people, answers to questions, free advice. Shut me up if you don't want to hear it. It is a lot of fun to see someone just blossom, and that's what you get when you're a teacher, is that in teacher parlance, you're supposed to be the facilitator of independent learning. So it's no good me showing off that I can do whatever. I'm wanting to have my students, figure out things and do it themselves, exactly like my clients.
I'm Greer McGeary. My special guest tonight was Ophelia. Thank you for watching Bent TV. Good night.